Hi. Um, I'm coming to you today very specifically because I think today is a day that I know a lot of people may be struggling. And I was inspired by a friend of mine. Well, actually, let me back up. So, today is Martin Luther King Day, and it is also Inauguration Day. And I was having a conversation with my husband about the sort of irony that one could see in that. And then I thought, no, actually, if I think about it, that's kind of a sign of hope, actually. I actually think it's hopeful that this inauguration day fell on Martin Luther King Day. And I had earlier received a text from a friend talking about how she had been rereading Martin Luther King's letter from jail. And that really hit me because I think, in talking to a lot of people, and even my clients and others, a lot of people feeling hopeless out there. And if you're not one of them, that's fine. This could apply to you at other times potentially too. But for those of you today who are feeling this way for whatever reason, I think, thinking about where Martin Luther King was, not just when he made the speech on the mall, but how he was in a dark, dank prison with no mattress in solitary confinement, writing hopeful letters from jail on little scraps of newspaper and toilet paper that he would then sneak out to his lawyer. And that's how they got out. And despite that, despite the death threats, despite everything, he kept going. And he never demonized even the white supremacists. He met with them, he sat down with them, he listened to them. He did not deny his own anger or the anger of those who had very much a right to anger for all that had happened to them. And he was a firsthand witness and experienced violence and even death for the cause that he believed in, and for the people that he believed in, and for the love of people. And I think there's so much that we can learn from Martin Luther King, and I don't know even probably a thimbleful of the things that we can learn, but the little bit that I feel inspired to share today is that, first of all, he rejected the whole idea of good versus evil, that in the best of us, there is some evil, and in the worst of us, there is some good. And I absolutely believe that, and I have always believed that. And I have to hope that even in people that I may think are evil or not good or don't have good intentions, that somewhere in there must be some good. And I hope that maybe that can be appealed to at some point, right? Also, demonizing people with whom you don't agree is never going to change the situation. If you can hear people, and this is straight out of Martin Luther King's book, if you can hear people, if you can sit and listen to people, then you can find a way to maybe meet them, to bridge, to find where you have the commonalities, to find where you might be able to talk and think about things differently. But you're never going to persuade someone of something without first sitting down and listening to them. If they don't feel heard, they're not going to be listening to you. He met with everybody, including white supremacists. He did not demonize them, even though there certainly could have been many reasons for him to do that. The movements of the 50s and 60s were filled with failure. And even though people may be feeling at a low point now, again, and I mentioned this the other day, you need to think of things on a continuum, right? That at that time, imagine how the despair, I mean, he marched on with very little support, and in the headwinds of incredible difficulty and violence and hatred at the time. But he kept going. And the movement that he led made great changes for everybody, not just for one group of people. And I think that's the other thing too, is to remember that when one group is raised up, we're all raised up. When one of us is thrown to the ground, all of us are diminished. If my brother is diminished, so am I. If my sister is diminished, so am I. If my sister is raised up, so am I. And I think it's easy to forget that, especially when we're despairing, especially when we're feeling hopeless and deflated. And I'm saying take a little time, grieve, be angry if you need to be. I'm not saying don't do that, but I am saying also remember how far we've come. And yes, there's still work to do. There's always going to be work to do. But this is not the end. It's not the end. And there is stuff we can do. And we may actually physically have to do stuff. We may have to do more than just hashtagging on our different social media engagements. We may actually have to go out into the streets and put bodies on the line and boycott things. I'm boycotting Meta this week. I think that's a great idea. So I'm taking a social media break. YouTube is my only social media right now. So lucky you. Anyway, so those are the thoughts that I have, that I actually think it's not ironic that the fact that we had the inauguration today on the same day that is Martin Luther King's Memorial Day, national holiday, is actually a sign of hope. It's a sign to us to remember the continuum and to remember that even one of us can make a huge difference. And even if that is just choosing love in your community, choosing to be kind in your community, choosing to make a difference in your community, I choose to help people heal themselves. I choose love. I choose to try to figure out why people feel the way that they do. That's what I do. I'm curious. I choose to be curious. Why do you feel that way? Instead of demonizing someone, maybe I can find out more about where they're coming from. That's the work that I enjoy engaging in. So I'm saying it's not the end. I think it's a great sign of hope that this is Martin Luther King's Day. And I think there are those of us that can maybe want to focus on that as opposed to the other. And that's fine. And if there are people who want to focus on the other, bully for you. But it's a pendulum. It's a continuum. This too shall pass. All manner of things change. Change is one of the only things we can be certain of. That and death, my other favorite topic. So that's what I'm going to leave you with today. I hope it's helpful. But I really do believe it may take some work, but we can bring people together. We can choose love, and we can make this world, this wonderful country of ours, and this world a better place. We can do that. And we can do it, but we have to do it together, and we have to do it in community. So let's figure out how to do that. Let's figure out where our communities are. Let's figure out how to strengthen them and move forward. Anyway, much love. Thank you for listening.